What's up, everybody? Rage Cage 20 here in the flesh. Technically, because I'm not in front of you, but I'm in front of me here in the flesh, and I'm in front of y'all here electronically through the magic of the internet. And we have today another Mr. B story. Just can't get enough of them. And the initial response from the first two was decently positive. Good handful of views. A couple thumbs up. I'll take that as a victory. I'll take that as a perfect excuse to keep doing these, because I want to keep listening to them. And today is a special day for reasons. So I figured I'd celebrate with a great Mr. B story. And I thought, what better one than one that might be scary? Now, it's looking like it's going to be some kind of true crime horror kind of one. But on the off chance that it's some kind of like in the woods story or something like that. Because those seem to be my favorites, people that go out camping, even though they piss me off the most. Oh, well, that's not true. They don't piss me off the most. Yeah, if you've been watching all these, you know which ones piss me off the most. But they are the ones that upset me because of the intelligence of the individuals. But that's not as bad as the cruelty of these heartless human beings. Heartless and soulless. Like, they go so far beyond that. It's just soulless human beings. But I do tend to love the out in the woods creepy like horror stories, the like campfire stories and shit. Like those ones are so good. This one I don't think is going to be that, but you never know. Boy thought he saw a ghost. The truth is much worse. That's what we're doing here today. Picture of like some kind of all chalky faced figure like peeking out from a window and whatnot. That, and there's chapters in this one. It says Crash, Stripes. It goes from Crash, it looks like, I don't know what crayon book is, but it looks like some kind of residential parking, maybe not residential, but parking area, outside structure. Then we have Stripes, which looks like abandoned house that you would check out. And then we have Thorns, which looks like he's out. Hey, I think I see a campfire and some tenting, stuff like that. So we might get a little bit of that, what I'm looking for today. And I think that this will be fun. Regardless, when I see like the truth is much worse, I assume it's like some kind of human that's stalking them and whatnot. So that to me just sounds like it might just turn out to be some kind of true crime. Like, oh, someone killed this person, who was it, kind of thing. But there's a chance. Now, don't want to spend too long on this one, so we're going to try to get through it maybe a little bit faster. Already off to an amazing start, because I have some dinner reservations to go skedaddle to. It's not actually reservations. I technically have a couple of hours, but I want to get there around a certain time because I'm going to go dine out, have myself some Greek food. Oh, it's going to be fucking great. I'm going to get myself some shawarma, a gyro, some falafel. I think for dessert, I might even add a little bit of that baklava. You know what I'm saying? You feeling me? So let's get through this so I can go have a wonderful romantic dinner by myself. Because sometimes you just gotta treat yourself to a romantic dinner, man. Seriously, try it though. It sounds sad and lonely. Trust me, like anyone who's done it, I think they even talked a lot about this on Smosh. Like, treat yourself to a dinner every now and then. Dress up, like get yourself in a different mindset, get fancy, and just go out and have dinner and enjoy yourself. You know, like seriously, try it. Anyways, let's see what this boy saw, what it turned out to be.
In 1998, a young boy saw something terrifying out of a window in his house in the middle of the night.
I thought it was going to say plane, and I thought it was going to be like William Shatner. I don't know what that show, or wasn't it, oh, don't fucking, I got this. Like, stop trying to tell me what it is. I got this. Guys, come on. I can't remember what it was. Fuck. Isn't Tales from something? No, that's not it. I don't know. It's kind of like X-Files, but not X-Files. Not like that kind of show, but it was like... Anyways, I'll look it up later. Continue.
night, but after telling his mom about it, she looked around, didn't see anything, and so told him, you know what, you probably just imagined it. However, years later, that boy and his mother would learn he had not just imagined it. It was very real. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please
Twilight
spend a nice
Zone.
long day at the beach.
Sorry, I was so close. I was so close. I felt like I had Twilight Zone in my mind. Yes, Twilight Zone episode. There we go. Kind of like that X-Files mysterious thing, but not like a TV show. It was a TV show, but it wasn't like staged as like, a drama kind of not spy, but like FBI like show. Anyways.
And then afterwards, make a special trip to the Like Button's house so you can shake out your towels directly into one of their open windows. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
All right, with the title today, dude saw something out his window. He came back later. That sounds exciting. Everything would crash. Yeah, that's what the chapters are. Is it 3 different stories? It might be 3 different stories. So I assume his would be the second one. Well, I like the 3 stories ones. Those can be fun. You get 3 different stories, shakes it up.
Cranbrook, which is a small snowy town in British Columbia, Canada, used to be a place no one had heard of. Then Isaiah Otieno changed that. In 2006, an 18-year-old smiling young man named Isaiah Otieno stepped off of a plane in Cranbrook and began making his way toward the baggage claim. As he walked, everyone in the airport stopped and stared up at him. Isaiah was 6'9" tall, and he
that tall, man. Real fucking tall.
was from Kenya, making him easily one of the most unique people in all of Cranbrook.
See in
Isaiah, who was
first off that you would see in Canada, but especially that you would see in a small, never heard of it place in Canada.
the son of a Kenyan politician, had worked really hard to earn his slot at the local university called the College of the Rockies. His plan was to use that degree to get a great job so he could help support his family back in Nairobi. Not long after the first semester of Isaiah's freshman year had started, he was not only flourishing academically, but also socially. His big smile and his charm and his incredibly good manners had earned him many friends, as well as the nickname the Gentle Giant. But the person Isaiah most closely bonded with while he was in Cranbrook was another student named Isaac Hockley. Isaac, in addition to being a student at the College of the Rockies, was also a passionate photographer and actually worked part-time for the local newspaper as a freelance photographer. Isaac and Isaiah had briefly met in late 2006 at their campus's billiard halls when they were both playing pool, but that interaction had not made them friends. What had cemented their friendship and made them very, very close was one night in early 2007, Isaiah had gotten a job as a bouncer at a local bar because he's 6'9".
Yeah, makes sense.
And so he was the bouncer. And Isaac had come to that bar, not to see Isaiah, just to go to the bar. And so Isaiah's at the front, he's checking people in, and then he hears this commotion in the bar behind him, and he turns and he sees Isaac is getting attacked by this huge guy that's way stronger than him, who looked like he was the aggressor in the fight. And so without any hesitation, Isaiah turns and just starts galloping into the bar. He's leaping over chairs, he's leaping over tables, and he jumps into the fray, and he fought off Isaac's attacker. And so after the dust settled, Isaac was so thankful for Isaiah, even though Isaiah kind of downplayed it and acted like it was no big deal. But either way,
dude's flying over tables, like extra punch from like fucking flies from a mile away, just gives him a Hercules punch. Like, nah, it was none. Just do my job. I mean, that's pretty badass. I mean, like, you gotta buy that person a drink if they're allowed to have a drink or whatnot. I don't even care if he's not allowed to drink on the job, man. Like, you make exception for this one. This one dude just saved my life. you buy that person a drink right there. That's what you do.
The experience totally bonded these two very different people, and after that, they became totally inseparable. Over the next couple of semesters, the pair would often go off on long rides outside of Cranbrook into the mountains and the forests, and they would just...
Reason I say is I didn't see the road for a second. Was that like long drives? I was like, through the wilderness? Then I saw the road. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, wait, what? It just, okay. I mean, it looks beautiful, but like dangerous.
Isaiah would talk about what it was like to live in Kenya and how he was really here to try to be successful like his father. And Isaac would talk to Isaiah about his passion for photography and what it was like growing up in Canada around Cranbrook. On one very memorable drive, the pair were driving at night along this kind of winding road that went through a forest when all of a sudden a moose leapt onto the road and blocked their way. And so Isaac at the last second had to swerve to avoid the moose. But ultimately, they did not get into an accident, and it was just a close call. So Isaac was totally fine. He had kind of recovered within seconds of getting past the moose. But Isaiah, who was in the passenger seat, was totally shaken up by it. And when Isaac started talking to Isaiah about why he was so shaken up, because after all, they are fine. They did not get into an accident. Isaiah would admit that he wasn't shaken up because they almost got into an accident. He was shaken up because he saw a moose. He didn't know moose existed, and so seeing this...
What was that fucking monster that just crawled out of the forest? We're gonna act like that didn't just happen? That, you know, if you've never seen a specific animal, especially moose are big, man. Like, mooses, those are big bitches, man. With like fucking giant horns and stuff. Just roar. Yeah, no, that'd be scary. That'd be scary as fuck. Like, for reals. For realsies.
Enormous creature suddenly in the middle of the road right in front of them just had totally spooked him. And so after this, Isaac loved to bring this story up as a way of kind of making fun of Isaiah for his fear of moose, but it was totally in a loving way, and Isaiah would always laugh right along with him. But despite how well everything was going in both Isaiah and Isaac's lives to that point, everything would come crashing down in 2008. On May 13th, 2008, so 2 years after Isaiah showed up in Canada, Isaac got a phone call from his employer, the local newspaper, who told him he needed to head into town to take some pictures of a crash that had just happened. A helicopter had been flying over Cranbrook conducting a power line survey when they had lost power and crashed.
Oh, shit.
All three people, the pilot and the two people in back who were actually doing the survey, they all died on impact. Isaac, like everybody else who heard about this, was totally shocked. One, because it was totally tragic and horrible, but two, because nothing ever happened in Cranbrook. So to have something so big like this happen right downtown was just unheard of. And so Isaac hopped in his car and he began making his way towards the crash.
Was Isaiah in the helicopter? Uh-oh.
And it didn't take long before he saw this massive ring of people right at the intersection between 10th and 14th Street. They were all on the sidewalk and up on buildings, and everyone's just looking in towards this massive mound of jagged metal that was on fire, and all this black smoke was coming off of it. And there's ambulances nearby, and police, and the fire department was there, and they're trying to put out the flames, but they can't do it. And so Isaac parks his car, and he rushes over to this ring of people, and he works his way towards the front. He pulls out his camera, and he began taking pictures, first of the wreckage and the fire, and then also of the police as they put tarps over the bodies. Little did Isaac know, these pictures he was taking were about to take on a whole new significance for him. Earlier that day, just before 1 p.m., Isaiah wrapped up his final class of the day, and after he was done, he remembered he had some letters in his backpack that he had been meaning to mail to his family back in Kenya. And so he decided on his way home, he would make a detour to the post office and he would mail those letters. And so he left the building where this final class was and he stepped out into the bright sunshine of that May day. He put his headphones on and then he began to walk. At about 1:05 p.m., he arrived at the post office and he went inside just long enough to put his letters in the...
Sorry, I don't know if you can... I don't know if you can see the smirk or whatnot. I want to clarify, I'm not smirking at what is possible about to happen to Isaiah, but the thought of when he said that he it was one of those, like, you know, like everyone who has certain opinions and perceptions of what certain places are like somewhere in Canada, especially middle of nowhere, Canada, and he's like, he steps out into the bright sunshine. I was like, it's like sunshine. Like, everyone knows that Canada is just an endless blizzard of snow. Like, there's no sun in Canada anywhere, which is not true because I've been to Canada. But I just thought that was a funny reaction. It was just like, son, Canada doesn't see sun. Why do you think everyone in Canada is so pale? No, just kidding. I just thought it was funny. Anyways,
mail slot, and then he headed back outside. 1 minute later, at 1:06 p.m., as he was crossing 10th Street, the helicopter above lost power and crashed directly on top of Isaiah.
I thought he was in the helicopter, which I was just thinking, like, how did he get in there? Like, as part of his class or something? That bitch landed on him. Well, that would definitely make sense of why it would be known for him. How often are you just walking along, all of a sudden, helicopters just dive bombing at you? Like, that is, first off, horrifying, because it's just like, I ain't fast enough to get away from that. It's a fucking helicopter flying at me, probably spinning and shit. That's gotta be a fucking horrific scene coming at you in the first place. But, like, just unlucky, because, like, you know, helicopters are decently big, but, like, there's so many places it could have hit. You just happen to be at the wrong spot at the wrong time. That just fucking sucks, dude. That blows.
Within seconds, he and the 3 people on board the helicopter would all be dead. It's believed because Isaiah was listening to music on his headphones, he didn't even hear the helicopter as it was crashing down. He was just walking, and then he was dead. It was a...
That's so fucked, man. That sucks. But this is a lesson to all y'all kids out there. You just walk around, you know, tuning out the world with dim earplugs and stuff. Pay attention. Get the plugs out your ears. I'm just kidding. That would be me too. Like I'd be in the same predicament.
Total freak accident. It wasn't until later that day that Isaac would realize the pictures he had taken of this scene included pictures of his friend.
Fuck.
Before we get into our...
Yeah, and there's also a part in here with his kids and whatnot. Oh, it's adorable. It's a nice place, dog. Nice looking place there. I could see it being an apartment, but it might be a house. Awesome looking, man. Good on you, bro. Good on you. Alright, stripes. Look at the background. Look at that background. I'm excited.
On a warm summer night in 1998, a 7-year-old boy named Tyler Florian fell asleep watching TV.
Where? It's like all these stories happen to people with the craziest last names. Florian. Like DeLorean. You know what I mean? Like... They invented DeLoreans. Anyways, just the crazy last names.
TV on his living room couch. Tyler lived with his parents as well as his older brother, Will, who was 10 years old, in a modest 2-story home in a rural...
Okay, not a real... I mean, it might have been close. I was just like, I mean, modest may be an understatement. But yeah, it might have been worse in this picture.
Rural neighborhood in West Virginia. That night, Tyler's father, who normally tucked the boys in at night, was out for work. And so after Tyler fell asleep, it was his mother who gently woke him up and encouraged him to head upstairs to his room. And so Tyler, he gets off the couch and he's groggy and he makes his way over to the stairs. He climbs up the stairs and he turns right and heads down the hallway to his room. He goes into his bedroom, he climbs into his bed, and then he falls asleep. In order to understand what happens next, you need to have a good understanding of the layout of the second floor hallway.
Okay, can do.
That hallway stretched from the front of the house all the way to...
Cool balcony. Bathroom, parents, Will's. What's the space here in the middle? Is this an empty patch of nothing? Maybe it's like this part in the top story is just like, it's like open to roofing or whatnot. Maybe this window's right here or some shit like that. I don't know.
The back of the house. And at either end of this hallway were doors that led outside of the house, and these doors had big windows on them.
That's terrifying. Oh, this must be the... Yeah, this is the one with the ghost and the whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, that's just horrifying in general. Just thinking of your rooms being right next to where people can come in. That's scary. Defensively, these are horrible positions to be in. The parents are right next to the stairs. Like you get the fuck out the fastest. So yeah, no, that's not bad. That's not a bad
The
layout.
front of the house, that door, if you walked out, that overlooked the front yard of the property.
Sorry, I was not paying attention. I knew we were like within 3 minutes of the video switching, but I didn't know how close we were. Anyways,
And these doors had big windows on them. The front of the house, that door, if you walked out it, you'd be walking out onto a balcony that overlooked the front yard of the property. But if you walked out the back door of this second floor hallway, you would not be walking onto a balcony. You would not even be on the second floor. You'd be basically
down.
stepping into the backyard of the house. And the reason for this is because the house was built into a hill. And so the
okay.
back half of the house
Got
is
it.
literally
also not a real photo, but like kind of like this. Got it. Yeah, no, I understand the thought process of that. Oh, that's kind of really cool, though. I thought it was just like one of those that you open it and it's just sheer down, and then like someone was peeking through that. I'd be like, no, that's definitely a ghost, or someone was like climbing up the side of the fucking house and peeking in. That'd be scarier. But okay, that's pretty cool. That's a cool landscape. I like that.
underground. It's in the hill. And so there is no door on the lower half of the house because there's just earth behind the door. And so it's that second floor doorway at the end of the hall that serves as kind of like the exit to the backyard of the house. So with that in mind, Tyler, he gets upstairs, he goes to his bedroom, which is towards the front half of this hallway. And he falls asleep. And then only about an hour after falling asleep, he wakes up to the sound of someone using the bathroom. Tyler's bedroom was positioned right across the hall from the bathroom, and his door was open, and so Tyler's laying on his bed. He opens his eyes.
Okay, hold on. We got to go to the timeout real fast. We got to go for the timeout here. So, people that sleep with their doors open. There's been videos. It's kind of like the one video that I think I watched before I started doing, before I did these recordings. That I watched of Mr. B before I started recording Mr. B. Of his like daughter, dude and daughter went camping, separate camping things. They were in a kind of a more secluded part of a camping ground, but still a camping ground. And when it was hot, she would have the tent unzipped and be sleeping halfway out. Now, it's the same thing with like people that sleep with the doors open. Like you just have the door open into the black abyss void of your house. You can't see out into it, but people can see into your room and see you. It's just like those people are sociopaths. Like, in all honesty, someone even put in the comments of like the person who came that was fucking with that girl in the tent was probably terrified because what kind of sociopath sleeps with half their body outside the fucking tent? It's like kind of one of those things like, hold on, let's go to the timeout here. The fuck you mean sleeping with the door open? Like you were asking for something like this to happen if you were sleeping with the door wide the fuck open.
And he's looking through his open door at the bathroom, and the bathroom, the door is shut, but he can see there's light coming out from underneath the bottom of the door, so he knows someone's in there. And so Tyler's just laying there watching whoever is in there. He's assuming it's his brother, who has a habit of going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And so he's just kind of watching, and then at some point he hears the flick of the light as it's turned off, and he sees the light disappear from inside of the bathroom. The door swings open, and sure enough, it's his brother who steps back into the hall.
I was like, there's no light anymore. He can't see out there. Some shadow's gonna move.
His brother looks into Tyler's room, but doesn't attempt to interact with Tyler. Instead, Will just turns and walks back,
which is like
down the hallway towards his bedroom. And so as Tyler is listening to the sound of his brother's footsteps fade down the hallway, he closes his eyes again and prepares to go back to sleep. But as he's laying there with his eyes closed, he can tell that his brother has stopped short of his bedroom and has turned around and is now walking back up the hallway toward...
Like, if I was in the situation, I wouldn't... No alarms would be raised. I would just kind of, like, open my eyes back again and be like, what are you doing? It's like, Mom or Dad? Oh, Mom and Dad have a door into the bathroom, so it wouldn't be Mom and Dad. So I'd be like, get something, or no alarms would be raised yet. But since this is like, a scary event kind of things, I'm just like, here's where it happens, But this wouldn't raise any alarms to me yet. Besides the fact that he's sleeping with the fucking door open. The alarms are raised there.
The bathroom and towards Tyler's room. And so Tyler opens his eyes again because he knows his brother is about to be right in front of his bedroom. And he's thinking, okay, maybe he forgot something in the bathroom.
Where it's Tyler and I in the same wavelength here.
And so Tyler decides to just watch to see what his brother does.
Of course.
And so sure enough, Will walks all the way up until he's standing right in front of Tyler's open door. But instead of going into the bathroom, Will walks into Tyler's room. And right away, Tyler sits up and says, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? And his brother, he pauses for a second, and he begins to say something that sounds like he saw something out there, but, he's hesitant. He doesn't really know how he wants to frame the...
That reminds me. There's this, I think it's a TikTok video. I know you can find it on Internet City. By the way, if you haven't watched Internet City, they're pretty fucking funny. I highly recommend checking them out. Where they were reacting to scary TikToks and whatnot. And there was this one where I guess like this girl's daughter or sister and her slept in the same room, and she had a tendency of sleepwalking and whatnot. And I think she got up to do something and came back, was like sleepwalking and whatnot. And was like dancing. I guess sometimes people gotta sleep dance. I mean, if you wake up and your legs are all sore and tired, just like, was I sleep dancing again? I don't know. Maybe that was like a clip from earlier in the day or something, like right before they went to sleep or something. But bitch came back and just stopped. The light was on, or she turned the night light on or something, or light when I was like recording and stuff. Stops, stares right at her sister, does not break eye contact with her, doesn't fucking blink, and is just like staring at her menacingly, not saying anything, not moving a fucking inch, and just stares at her, and she's freaking the fuck out. And it's like it's one of those scenarios. I would just have to like straight up, but like I'd be creeped the fuck out. Like my like skin would be crawling. Be like, dude, like if that was like my brother or something, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck you doing? Like, you okay, man? I'm like, can I help you? And if he was just staring at me, I would assume it would be fucking with me, because he used to fuck with me, like not like necessarily like that, but kind of like that when we were younger. So I would assume he's fucking with me. But like if we were older now where he doesn't fuck with me and that happened, I'd be like, bro, you better say something or lay the fuck back down. Otherwise, I love you, but in all honesty, you're about to get these hands. Like, if I was the girl in that situation there, if my sister was just staring at me, I'd be like, bitch, you better lay the fuck back down and blink and start saying something, or go back to sleep, or I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. You better stop fucking looking at me like that. Looking at me like you're about to kill me. I will slap the fucking shit out you. Like, honestly, if you watch that video, those eyes are terrifying. And it haunted me that night. When I like woke up at one point in the middle of the night, I was just like thinking about those eyes, and it scared me. Like, I honestly, in that moment, I'd be so uncomfortable with like, bitch, I swear I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna start fucking swinging. You better sit the fuck down. Like, I don't care if you're sleepwalking, you're not supposed to wait to sleepwalk. Fuck that, I'm gonna beat the shit out of sleepwalking. You don't stare at me like that, man. Like, we ain't playing that I'm possessed by a demon game today. Anyways, that's what the thought that crossed my mind when this scene happened. I thought he was gonna walk in and just kind of like stare at him or something. I'd be like, nah, bitch, I'm coming for that ass. I'm gonna start swinging.
Sounds like he saw something out there, but he's hesitant. He doesn't really know how he wants to frame the thing he wants to say. And so Tyler's like, come on, what are you doing? It's the middle of the night. What's going on? And finally, Will just blurts out, I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. And so Tyler, he hears that.
That's one of the moments you hear that, like, and you ain't doing anything about it. You just get out and you get ready. I think these are younger kids, to be fair and whatnot, but just like the hallway, like inside the fucking house. You told me there's someone inside the house right now. Nah. Get the bat.
house, and he can't compute what he's being told. And so he just says, what? What are you talking about, Will? What did you see in the hallway? And Will would say again, I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. I've seen him a couple times in the last couple of days. I go to the bathroom, and then when I start walking back, I see him outside the back door in our
Not like this.
And so Tyler is so scared.
Backyard. I thought you were telling me he was in the house. Still scary, but I thought you were like, he's already in. I'd be like, bro, you gotta elaborate a little bit better, man. You can't just be like, he's there at the end of the hallway. Like, if I peek my head out and look towards your room, there's gonna be a dude like, yeah. Like, don't fucking scare me like that, man. You're already scaring me, but don't scare me like that level, bro. Like, you gotta clarify this shit.
Because his brother does not sound like he's making a joke. His brother sounds like he's telling the truth, and just the fact that his brother can't quite find the words to describe what he saw made it seem even more real. And so Tyler, he gets out of bed and he says, Will, we gotta go tell Mom. But that required going into the hallway and going down the hall towards where apparently this man in stripes was to get to their mother's bedroom. And
I mean, it's still a safe distance away. The dude have to charge the fucking door, in which case you could run into your parents' room. I mean, there's only one parent home, so you're not getting like an army to help back you up, but like, maybe Mom's got a Glock in the fucking bedroom, you know, bedroom coverage, locked up in a safe for safety. Like, you know, be responsible gun owner or whatever. You know, like, punch in that code, thumbprint it, take out the Glock, like, who the fuck's outside? You know what I mean? Ready to go. Hopefully Mom's armed and strapped, but you can at least dive into the room, assuming they have lock on it. Most master bedrooms do. Like, get ready to boogie.
so Will, who initially was not that scared of this man in stripes he had seen, was now starting to get pretty panicked in seeing Tyler's reaction to this. And so Will tells Tyler, you know, stay right there, stay in the room. And so Will, he can.
How old are you? Who's I forgot. I don't know if I heard ages in here or whatnot, but
and peeks back into the hallway and he looks all the way down and there is no man in stripes anymore. There's no one in the hall. Okay. And so he tells Tyler, you know, the coast is clear, and the two of them run down the hallway all the way right in front of that door that leads into the back of the property where the man in stripes was, and they turn left and they go into their parents' bedroom where just their mother was because their father was out of town. And so they charge in there, they wake their mom up, and they're talking over each other, trying to communicate to their mom that there was a ghost, that there was an intruder, that there was something bad happening around their house. And so finally their mom just tells them to be quiet, and she says, okay, boys, sit on the bed. I'm gonna go have a look around the house. And so the two boys do as they're told. They sit on the bed, and their mom leaves the bedroom. She goes into the hallway, and she looks immediately to her left where the man in stripes supposedly was, and she doesn't see anything. She just looks out into their backyard. There's nothing there. She looks down the other direction, out the front of the house, doesn't see anything. She walks all around the house. She goes outside. She looks everywhere, but she doesn't see anyone or any.
Ooh, so many things wrong with that. Okay, first off, there was no mention that she acquired a weapon, and so she's going outside into the dark to scan around this house where there could be someone out there. She's aware that there could be someone out there. She's going out there potentially unarmed, just walking around the house. Also, did you lock the door when you went outside? Because you could go outside, turn the corner, guess who pops into the corner. There's so many things wrong with what you just did. Mrs. Tyler's mom. Or Miss Tyler's mom, you know, just because you have kids doesn't mean you're married. But I assume you're married, so Mrs. Tyler's mom. The fuck your problem? Like, you didn't think this one through, huh? You did not think this one through.
Thing. And so eventually she comes back inside the house. She goes up to the second floor. She goes back to her bedroom, and she tells her boys, look, you probably just spooked yourselves. There is no man in stripes. You're totally safe. You're totally fine. Just go back to bed. You probably just imagined whatever you saw. And so Will, who was the one who saw the man in stripes, was very quick to accept his mother's answer. It actually seemed like it was a relief to have somebody tell him that what you had seen.
Especially if you're a younger kid, like, I don't know, double digits or younger, like 10, 15, 16, whatnot. Maybe say about 10, 14. When your parents are just like, don't worry, there's no danger, you're perfectly safe. It's just kind of like this moment, just like, okay, my parents aren't freaking out. like we must be good. That's kind of it's an interesting phenomenon. Like if the person in charge ain't freaking out, then we're like, okay, we got this. But if you look at your parents and they're just like fucking nervous and looking around, she's just like, we're gonna fucking die. It's very interesting how that effect works.
It wasn't real. And so he very happily went back to his bed and he fell asleep.
Right.
But Tyler, who had not seen the man in stripes,
Right.
but had a very intense reaction to hearing his brother describe it, could not accept his mother's answer. It just totally freaked him out because his brother was always joking around about stuff, but
Right.
this did not feel like a joke. This felt
Right.
very, very real. But over the course of the next couple of days, weeks, months, years, Will never claimed to see the man in stripes again.
I mean, that's legit. There's a butt in here, but that's legit. That's a good start.
And so pretty quickly, Tyler forgot about it. Fast
Right.
forward 11 years to 2009, so Tyler is now 18 years old.
Okay, he was 7. Got it. Makes sense. Got it. Yeah. 11 years. Holy shit.
And he and his mom were out in the car running some errands. And
Okay.
as they're driving around, they were just chatting about all sorts of different things. And at some point, they began talking about one of their beloved family pets, a dog named Max that they
Oh, real
had
photo
when
of
Tyler
the
was
dog.
really young. And so as they're kind of swapping stories about all the goofy things that this dog did, Tyler's mom suddenly says, "Hey, Tyler, do you remember the time that I opened the front door to let the cops into the house and Max came bounding into the house and he went right into the kitchen and he ripped open all the food?" And Tyler's looking at his mom like, "Wait, when did the cops come to our house?"
I think mom, something wrong with mom here.
When did you open the door to let the cops come into our house? And as soon as Tyler said this to his mom looked at him as if she had just given away something she hadn't meant to.
Tyler's mom. What are we talking about here? Are you keeping secrets? You know what they say about secrets? You heard someone. What's going on here?
And then she kind of relaxed and said, "You know what? I never got around to telling you.
Oh, BT dubs.
Now that I'm thinking about it, you and your brother were asleep. You didn't even know this happened. And then afterward, me and your father decided not to tell you guys because we didn't want to scare you. Back when you were about 7 years old and Will was about 10 years old, your dad was away at work and we were all asleep one night when suddenly I wake up to the sound of someone or something moving around outside of our house. And so I sit up in bed and I go into the hallway and I look left and I look out that door into our backyard and I see standing up against the glass this man with his hands pressed to the window looking into the house. And so Tyler's mom would tell him how she totally freaked out and she flipped on the lights and it scared this guy who ran off, and then she called the police and then the police showed up, and that's when their dog Max came bounding inside and shredded the bag of food. And the police, they searched the property, but apparently they never found this guy. Tyler's mom would go on to tell him that the police warned her that her description of this man that was standing at their back door matched the description of a man who was wanted for murder who was on the loose in the area. Tyler was dumbfounded. He didn't remember this because obviously he had been asleep, because this is something he would have remembered.
Yeah.
And so he had so many questions about this whole situation. But the first question he asked his mom was, well, what did he look like? And his mom said, well, he was tall, he had dark hair, he had blue jeans on, and oh, you know what? He had a striped shirt on. It would turn out, for a couple of days in the summer of 1998, this suspected murderer who was on the run from police had apparently been hiding out on...
Hold on a second. Okay. We back. Like I heard the dog make a weird sound, and then I heard like footsteps or something. I was like, is it coming for me now? But it's just the dog gets very territorial and defensive of its food, and the cat loves to try to fuck with the dog's food and whatnot, and the dog was pissed. So we're good. Anyways, so let me recap that. So mom unknowingly went outside walked around when there was dude wanted for murdering people just outside chilling. At any point, could have been killed right then and there. Also, he could have snuck into the house as soon as she went outside, killed the kids, and waited for her to show up. Even probably kidnapped the kids, wait for her to come back inside and run out the other door with them. By the time she gets back to the room, ain't no kids no more. Like, that was, so we say that was not the move, Mom. This is not the move. I hope you were armed, loaded, and ready, because that was not the move.
Tyler's family's property, and in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, this suspected murderer would walk over to the back door of the second floor hallway, and he would put his face up to the glass and he would stare into their home.
Oh God,
this
not that picture. What
was
are we
the
doing
man
then?
in stripes that Will claimed to have seen. He was real. Tyler, after making this connection, would follow up with his family members and he would do some digging of his own, but he was never able to figure out who the man in stripes was or what happened to him.
It's moved on, got caught, killed someone, who knows. But you were alive, so shit. Alright, thorns. Let's see, campfire and camping equipment in the background. This might be that scary camping story I heard of. And yeah, no, these are some good ones in here. These are some good ones. First one was unfortunate as fuck. Second one was creepy as a motherfucker. I think it's gonna finish out with a bang here.
In 2012, a 22-year-old woman named Simone was living in a small winemaking village called Rue de Sam am Rhein, which is located
Simone Simmons?
in southwestern Germany. This village is strikingly beautiful. It's full of quaint European homes, and there's lots of rolling green hills with vineyards as far as the eye can see, and the village sits right on the banks of the Rhine River. Simone had grown up in this picturesque village, and she had loved it, but this was going to be her last summer before she left and headed off to New York City to start the next chapter of her life.
I don't know if this bothers anyone else, but I can't stop. There's moments I can't stop staring at it. And I don't know how he does this, because when I had long hair, if I had it like tucked under my shirt and I could feel it moving around, I would bug the fuck out of me. But I just see that strand that just comes down, is like hooked in there, is like moving around occasionally. I just like, please pull it in the back, man. Just pull. It bothers my fucking eyes, man.
And while she was excited about that, she was also kind of sad because this village and everybody inside of it were the only things she had ever known. And so the idea of leaving them behind just seemed very strange to her. But instead of focusing on the kind of growing anxiety around her imminent departure from Germany, she focused on what she would be doing that summer while she was still in Germany. Some of Simone's fondest memories of her childhood were of her time spent at summer camp. And this summer camp was located in this forest that was not far from her village. And every summer in July, Simone, along with about 200 other kids from her village and from neighboring villages, would converge on the campgrounds in the forest for 2 weeks of playing games and going on scavenger hunts and putting on stage plays and just generally having a really good time. But when Simone became a teenager and was too old to be a camp attendee, she decided she would volunteer and be a camp counselor. And she found it was awesome. She immediately connected with the other camp counselors, and she felt all grown up, having a real job, and she loved goofing around with all of the kids. And so every summer since that first time volunteering, Simone had gone back and volunteered again. And this summer was no different. So, in mid-July of that year, Simone packed up her things and she headed off to the forest. The way this camp worked was the 200 plus kids that were attending the camp, they would get dropped off in the mornings each day by their parents, and they'd play and run around all day, and then in the...
Not a real photo of the summer camp drop-off. Why would you say that? Is because it's in English? Is that... Would that be why you would make that assumption?
Late afternoon, their parents would come back and pick them up. So none of the kids were sleeping over at the camp during these 2 weeks. However, the 30-plus counselors, they would just stay at the camp for the full 2 weeks. They would just sleep in tents out in the forest. Technically, the reason they did this was to make sure they had enough time in the morning to prep the campgrounds for the kids, and then also in the evenings to have enough time to clean up and kind of have it ready for the next day. But in reality, Simone and the other counselors all knew that the camping out in the forest was the best part of the volunteer experience. After all the kids went home for the night, all of the counselors would finish up all of their duties and then rush off into the forest where their tents were and where there was a fire pit, and they would have some beers and wine because the legal drinking age in Germany is actually 16.
Wow.
So all these counselors are having a couple of drinks, and then before long they'd be laughing and telling stories and just generally having a great time. So that July in 2012, Simone and the other counselors arrived at the campgrounds a day early, and they caught up with each other and they prepared the campground. And then the next morning, all the kids showed up and everything went off without a hitch. And then that afternoon, after all the kids had been picked up by their parents, Simone and the other counselors rushed to finish up all their duties and then headed off into the woods to enjoy their first night hanging out together. After a couple of beers had been passed around the campfire, everybody was in good spirits and laughing and telling stories. But pretty quickly, people started to fade and get tired because, it was their first day back at camp and it had been a long, tiring day. And so people very gradually began retiring to their tents to go to bed. And eventually Simone, too, had crawled into her tent and gotten onto her cot to try to sleep herself. But she found that night it was so hot she couldn't be in her tent. It was stifling inside of there. And so she decides she's just going to sleep out in the open where it's a little bit cooler.
No.
And so she picks up her fold-up.
She's at least not doing the half and half thing. Like, it's a campground. It should be relatively safe. It's not like in the middle of nowhere or anything, but like, at least she's not doing the half and half thing. I don't have a problem with that.
Cot, and she brings it out into the open, and she sees there are several other counselors who have done the same thing. And so she puts her cot down next to one of her good friends who's already asleep in her cot. And then Simone climbs into her cot, she gets under her covers, and she tries to fall asleep. But for the next hour, Simone just tosses and turns, she can't get comfortable, and by that time, everybody else has completely passed out. So it's just her, she's counting down the time until she has to get up again to start the next day, and so she's getting stressed about that. But eventually, she would fall asleep. However, she would immediately be thrust into one of the most visceral and intense nightmares she had ever had in her entire life. In her dream, she opens her eyes and she looks out in front of her, and it's this desert city, and there are hundreds of people all in front of her, just standing there looking up at her. And then she notices on her left and on her right are these two men, these big, huge men, that are both working on something behind her. She doesn't really know what it is, but they're obviously busy doing something. And she kind of glances up at one of them, and she notices he's holding something that looks like a wreath, like a holiday wreath you would hang on your door. And so Simone looks away from the guy with the wreath and just looks back out at this huge sea of people, which is totally bizarre because no one's moving, no one's making any sound, they're just staring at her. And then she feels this shooting pain in the top of her head. The man who was standing on her right was not holding
Like a Jesus crown of thorns. Yeah.
holding a holiday wreath. He was holding a crown of thorns. And now he, along with the guy on the other side of her, were working together to press this crown of thorns into her head. And so Simone is feeling the thorns being pressed deeper and deeper into her scalp. And she tries to fight them off, but she realizes she can't move. She can't even turn her head to look at them. She can only see them out of her periphery vision. And then she tries to scream out for help to someone in the crowd to come help her. But when she opens her mouth, no sound comes out. And so as she's sitting there, all she can do is stare straight out ahead of her as the pressure of these thorns are driven deeper and deeper into her skin. And then at some point, blood begins dripping down in front of her eyes. And around that point, the pain became so blinding, so awful, that it woke her up. And as soon as she woke up, she shot up and she reached for her head to make sure there was no crown of thorns on her. And as she's doing that, she's thinking, okay, phew, it was just a dream. That was just a horrible dream. I'm in this forest. I'm good. I'm safe. And as she's kind of patting on her head, she's realizing her head is wet. And as she's touching her head, she's realizing it hurts. There's a stinging pain in her head. And then she realizes it's
More often than not. Now, this can occasionally occur where you're feeling something in your dream. You can actually have the sensation of feeling something like pressure, like maybe you're touching something and you feel pressure or you feel pain or whatnot. It's often actually happening. It's just being transferred into your dream. So chances are she was being injured in some way. That pain was probably really happening. Whatever that was, who knows? Well, sure, we'll find out. But also on top of that, like, there probably was blood running over your face. Like, it's probably actually really happened. It often does become the case.
not just a stinging pain, it's a throbbing, intense pain all over her head. And so as she's kind of having this realization that her dream is now kind of segued into her real life, she looks out ahead of her and she sees off in the distance in the tree line, something is running through the woods. She can't tell who or what it is, but she makes a mental note that there is someone running away from them. But this pain in her head has gotten so intense that she can't focus on anything else. She can only focus on the pain. And as she's thinking about how much her head hurts, she screams in pain. And the girl who was laying next to her that had been asleep, she wakes up to the sound of the scream, but it's totally pitch black. She has no idea what's going on with Simone.
That's scary.
And so this girl, she sits up and she's trying to get Simone to tell her what's going on, but Simone has no idea. She's totally frantic. She can't really make sense of what's happening. And so this friend, she reaches down and she picks up a flashlight, she turns it on, and she aims the light at Simone, illuminating her head. And when this friend sees Simone's head, she starts to scream. Seconds later, the rest of the counselors that have been...
I think someone was trying to snack on her head or something. Like maybe teeth marks and blood or something.
Sleeping out were awake, and they were rushing Simone, who was now shaking and vomiting, over to one of the staff vans. And then 15 minutes later, they had driven her to the emergency room. It would turn out, after Simone had finally fallen asleep and she began having that really intense dream about a crown of thorns being dug into her scalp, well, in reality, something was digging into her scalp, and it was kind of manifesting itself in her dream.
Yeah.
And what was digging into her scalp was the jaws of a fox. This fox...
Aww. Foxes are so cute, though. Why'd you do that, Mr. Fox?
Fox had snuck into the campsite and walked right up behind Simone and just started eating her head. And amazingly, it did not wake Simone up right away. And so this fox got 20 or so serious bites
Ugh.
out of Simone's head before she shot up and scared it away. And so almost certainly what Simone saw running away from her in that quick moment was the fox. Doctors were able to save Simone and stitch her head back together, and they were even able to hide all of the scars in her hairline, so you can't even see them. But despite her being physically okay today, psychologically, this was a very traumatizing event. Not only does she refuse now to go into any forest, whether it's day or night, but she also periodically still gets phantom pains in her scalp.
Ooh, it's the worst. Ooh. The nerves will never forget that. Oh, no.
That feels like the fox is biting her head all over again. So that's going to do it, guys.
This is a weird thing about that. I don't know a lot about foxes, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I like foxes, but I don't know a lot about them. But, I mean, what I do know is, they are predators. They are predator-like creatures. And they will eat meat, especially eggs. It doesn't seem very typical. I mean, maybe it is. Again, I don't know much. I might look this up just for funsies. But it doesn't seem very typical that a fox would like attack a human. Like, there's maybe assumption, especially since none of them were moving and she was not responding to this, that the fox thought, oh, it's dead. Like, this is a dead creature and was just trying to eat it. And then when it shot up, it was like, no, not dead, and fucking fled. Because I don't think most foxes, I don't think that they would be very comfortable around human beings. I don't think they're like wolves that if they came in to attack a group, it'd be like, oh shit, they're awake, and would run away. They would just like fight. They would probably pounce or anything or something like that. I think they're kind of skittish in general around human beings because they're much smaller. They're very quick, but they're not the most lethal and deadly of predators. So that's why it's very surprising to me that a fox would creep up on a humanoid and just start trying to eat it, unless it thought, oh, these are all dead. You know what I mean? But I feel like a predator would know that it's not dead. Because I mean, even though it's an animal, animals, especially predators, especially feline and canine predators, are very smart. Like they're quite intelligent, especially when it comes to basics like hunting and eating and hunting and eating. Because hunting kind of goes along with attacking, which is what else I was going to say. Like I'm pretty sure they would be able to hear the breathing and see the pulse of a living creature, whether it knows that like, oh, this is a human or this is a whatever. I'm pretty sure they would see the pulse of the human and know that it's alive. But maybe it thought it was dying, so it's like, well, fuck it, this is my chance. I don't know. That's very suspicious to me. But then again, I don't really know the behavior of foxes, so I might actually look into that just because I'm fascinated. Truly. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, here's the thing. It's like, I understand the general shock and being like, I don't ever want to go camping or anything like that ever again. And the fact that there was multiple people out there and the fox just chose you is also, that's just unfortunate. There's a lot of unfortunate ones today. The first and the third one were just like super unfortunate that it just happened to be the wrong spot, the wrong place, the wrong time. That sucks, dog. Like, that really fucking sucks. That's really shitty. The second one was just scary. That was just scary shit. Like, I understand the shock of that situation and being like, I never want to go camping again. But it's like, it's one thing about like going camping. It's another thing, and this is why when, because it seemed like a place that they should be, but also it is just like, it is I mean, I don't know how created and man-made this campsite is where these kids come to camp and whatnot. I don't know if it happens to be just like a clearing in the forest and they decided, oh, we'll just make this a campsite and we'll just put tents up here. But it's like generally when there's no camping season, it's just traversed by creatures because it is just a natural part of the forest, or this is literally a dugout built camp zone, like some kind of camping like a camp park, like camping area where a bunch of people would drive in and, there's a road design or stuff like that. I don't know if it's more like that, because that kind of place I feel like generally wards off predators. But if it was just like, oh, this is a clearing and we just use it for our purposes during this time of the year or whatnot, then I could see predators approaching even when there's humanoids around. So like that's a little odd that would occur, especially with so many humanoids present, that one lone fox would come in and just start trying to eat one. That's bizarre behavior, from just what I know about animals in general. It's very bizarre behavior. But like, even if it's not like kind of out in the wilderness and whatnot, like I mentioned before, why when she said that she was going to go out, it's just like, oh, well, I guess there's other people out there. But at first it's just like, there's creatures out in the forest, whether they just be natural animals or fuck knows what. Like, you have safety, at least of some kind, in your tent. They have to make a lot of noise to get into that tent. They have to break into that tent to harm you. Like, I understand it was super hot and sweltering and whatnot, like, and then that, that sucks and that's not fun and all that good stuff. And everyone else is doing it, but like, that's why you don't do that. That's like on the level of why you don't go out and sleep out under the stars. There's creatures out there. I mean, that's just my thought. Like, you're still out in the woods. Like, he's still out in the woods. There's still creatures around, and I'm gonna reset the video. Hold on. And while yes, that was very odd behavior from anything I've ever experienced or heard about from animals. So it's just like, who would have seen that coming? Sure, but like at the same time, like, well, that's why you don't risk it. Because what if that wasn't a fox? What if that was a bear? I don't know if there's the German bears. Does Germany have bears? I assume so. I would imagine any forest has some form of bear in it, whatever species or genome or whatever the fuck it's called, it would be. But what if that was a bear? Or that was some form of feline, like a, I don't know, lion, a cougar. What if that was something faster and dead? Well, foxes are very fast, but like bigger and deadlier than a fox. There wouldn't have been no something's behind my head. It would have been crunch, like one big bear jaw, and there goes your fucking skull. Like, you know what I mean? There goes part of your fucking arm. It's just gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why you don't risk it. You know what I mean? Like, you're out in the wilderness. Like, this tent is a albeit silky cloth fortress, still a fortress of protection. It is a layer of protection. It's why you don't get out of the protection and just lay out in the middle, be like, everyone else is doing it, come get me, you know. But obviously no one was thinking that kind of behavior was going to happen, because I'm assuming that it was like a set up location, and usually creatures won't go in and fuck around like that. It's probably never happened in the years past, probably never happened in the years forward. It was just a very random event, and I get that, but just like, just where I'm coming from, you don't roll the dice and just try. Just figure out, like, well, it's never happened before. Like, okay, so you're really hoping that 2% chance doesn't roll on the dice. All right, good luck. You know what I'm saying? It's just, that's why you just don't. And you find a way to keep cool, like maybe an ice pack or something. But you probably just didn't picture that it was going to be that hot or whatnot. Like, it's fair. Some kind of tent flaps if a breeze can come in. Just anything really. Just open your, if it's a sleeping bag they can open, just open it, take all your clothes off or something. I mean, then you're worried about other campers coming in, you know. But like, I don't know, which is scarier, a predator snacking on your head, or literally trying to eat you to death, or a humanoid that you might have a better chance against. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's anyways. So yeah, those were some good stories. The first one was really sad. Like, I feel for that person. I don't even know that person, but he seemed like an awesome fucking Goku superhero flying through the fucking room saving people. Like, I feel really bad for that guy, dude. Like, that's just such a I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's a shitty way to go. If you have to go, just all of a sudden just you're dead and you don't know what the fuck happened, it's probably one of the more peaceful ways to go. But if he felt every moment of that thing crashing into him before he was actually dead, then maybe not the most peaceful way to go. But I mean, you know, and also way too early to go, so that's also not the ideal way to go that young. But like, I mean, shit, dude, you're just bumping the music, all of a sudden pain dead. Like, that's scary to think that could literally happen at any moment in anyone's life for any reason. Like, that's just terrifying. Anyways, good stories, love it, Mr. B, you're awesome. I'm gonna go get myself some Greek Mediterranean food, and I'm gonna love it and enjoy it. So I will see you all next time.